What if your poverty isn't about money at all? You've been told to hustle harder, to save, to invest, to chase opportunity like it's running away from you. But what if I told you you're chasing something your mind is programmed to reject? What if the reason you don't have wealth in your hands is because you never truly had it in your mind? Not just the idea of money, not just the desire for it, but the vivid picture, the emotional ownership of great riches. Before riches appear in your account, they must exist in your imagination with precision, not as hope, as certainty. And that's where most people fail, because their imagination has been hijacked by limitation, by fear, by scarcity. And until that changes, nothing in their external world ever will. Let me begin with a truth most men will deny. You will never become rich with a poor man's imagination. And by poor, I don't mean how much money is in your pocket. I mean how vividly you can see and feel yourself living in abundance before a single dollar appears. You can read every book. You can chase every strategy. You can work yourself into the ground. But if your imagination is trained to expect struggle, to normalize just enough, to flinch when wealth enters the room, then you are not planting seeds. You are planting barriers. The world does not give you what you want. It gives you what you are mentally prepared to hold. And wealth, true wealth, cannot exist where the inner world rejects it. Most people think imagination is a childish thing. They think it's about fantasy or daydreaming. But imagination is the most sacred technology of your mind. It is the factory that prints out your beliefs, your behaviors, your posture, and every day it's running a script. The tragedy is that most of you are running someone else's. The script you inherited from your parents. Money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We're not like them. The script installed by school. Work hard, be realistic, stay safe. The script whispered by society. It's arrogant to want more. Just be grateful for what you have. And so, your imagination shrinks. Not because you're not capable, but because your environment taught you it was dangerous to think bigger. Napoleon Hill said it best. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. Why? Because money doesn't follow effort, it follows alignment. And imagination is the first arena where alignment happens. It's where your nervous system gets used to the idea of wealth, where your mind rehearses the posture of abundance, where your energy begins to vibrate at the level of having, not hoping. Before wealth becomes external, it is first emotional. And if you cannot feel rich before you are rich, you will sabotage it the moment it tries to enter. You can write all the goals you want. I want to earn 6 figures. I want to live in a mansion. I want financial freedom. But your subconscious doesn't listen to words. It listens to images. When you close your eyes, what do you see? Is it wealth or is it lack? Is it ownership or is it debt? If your mental slideshow is made of fear, failure, rejection, and struggle, then that becomes your compass. Not because you're weak, because you're wired. And until you override those images with new ones, intentional ones, abundant ones, you will always return to the financial thermostat that your imagination installed. Here's another secret. The poor man's imagination avoids clarity. He says, I just want to be comfortable. I want to have enough. I just don't want to struggle. That's not a vision. That's survival. And survival thinking never creates surplus, because it only imagines escape, not expansion. Rich imagination says, I earn $100,000 a month doing work I love. I live in a home with light pouring through floor-to-ceiling windows. I walk into rooms where I am respected because I respect myself. That's precise. That's magnetic. That's how the subconscious knows what to move toward. Because what you see repeatedly, you begin to expect. What you expect, you begin to act from. And what you act from, the world begins to mirror. Do you know why some people never become rich? Not because they're lazy, not because they're cursed, but because secretly they're terrified of what wealth would require. They imagine, what if I lose it? What will my family think? What if people hate me for having more? And those questions, they shrink the vision. They corrode the picture. They cancel the signal. And so they stay broke, not because they aren't working hard, but because they're picturing pain instead of prosperity. Your imagination must not only picture riches, It must make peace with receiving them, first in the mind, then in the world. Most men reverse the order. They hustle for external success while their internal world remains in poverty. And even when success arrives, they sabotage it because their imagination never approved it. Let me say it again. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. So today, forget the spreadsheets, forget the strategies, forget the obsession with tactics. Sit, close your eyes, and begin building the internal mansion. Until you can walk through the halls of your dream, before you've bought a single brick, you are not ready. But once you do, the world follows. Let me now take you further into the practical, into the embodiment. Because the imagination is not just a place of ideas, it's a place of rehearsal. And the man who imagines wealth must also begin to think, move, and choose like one who has already received it. This is where most dreamers stop. They visualize riches, but live like beggars. They affirm abundance, but act from lack. And this contradiction kills the signal. So if your imagination is the blueprint, then your daily state is the architect. Let me show you how to build it. Most people live in a constant reactive loop. They panic when a bill arrives. They shrink at a price tag. They doubt their ability to afford, create, or sustain. This reaction has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with identity. You can't picture wealth in the morning and fear your rent by evening. You must train a new baseline, and it starts with asking, how would I respond right now if I already knew I was wealthy? This question isn't fantasy. It's instruction. Because the wealthy man inside you already knows, and the more often you let him answer, the more real he becomes. Most of your inner voice is inherited, but you can reprogram it. Here's how. When something triggers your old script, fear, doubt, impulse, pause, and speak, that's not mine anymore. I respond from surplus. I move with certainty, not fear. This simple act of catching and redirecting is how abundance becomes your new default. Because you're not just calming emotions. You're rewiring identity. The man who thinks like a millionaire long enough becomes one, not through wishful thinking, but through energetic calibration. The poor mind only acts based on what it can see, count, or control. The prepared mind acts based on where it's going. So before every decision, ask, what would the rich version of me do here? How does future me invest his time today? Would the man with wealth shrink or expand? And then do that. Even if it feels unnatural. Even if your bank account doesn't match yet, because energy leads and results follow. You cannot hold a wealthy state in a poor environment, not forever. If your space is cluttered, chaotic, cheap, it will pull you down. But when your surroundings begin to reflect order, excellence, intentionality, your inner wealth grows. No, this doesn't mean spending wildly, it means curating. Even one corner of your room that says, I expect wealth to live here, that is enough to begin. Because it reminds your subconscious, this is home now. Poor minds speak in problems. I can't afford that. That's too expensive. I'll never have that. Wealthy minds reframe. I'm not choosing that right now. How can I afford that intelligently? What value can I create that matches that level? Your words are not just vibrations, they are instructions. And every time you speak from fear, you rehearse limitation. But when you speak from vision, you teach your mind how to expand. So, begin noticing. Every conversation, every sentence is either installing wealth or reinforcing lack. Choose accordingly. This is perhaps the most uncomfortable shift of all. The rich man walks differently, not from arrogance, but from alignment. He does not apologize for his ambition. He does not explain his desires. He does not lower his standard to match the room, and neither should you. Start behaving like a person who already belongs to wealth. Show up early, speak with precision, say no to anything that disrespects your time. Treat your word as law. These are not personality traits. They are energetic postures. And every time you adopt them, you signal to the world, wealth is not just coming, it has already begun. Most people try to earn their way into a new self. But Hill's wisdom flips the order. If you do not see great riches in your imagination, you will never see them in your bank balance. So start inside. Not once, every day. Rehearse the future self until he feels normal. Speak his language. Move with his grace. Decide with his clarity. Because money is not the goal. Money is the byproduct of a self who no longer questions his worthiness. The moment you stop doubting your wealth, the world stops withholding it. You cannot pour gold into cracked glass, and this is where most seekers of wealth fail. They try to receive prosperity without having prepared a vessel that can hold it. We've spoken of imagination. We've spoken of behavior. Now we must speak of structure, because if your mind is to attract and retain wealth, it must become a fortress, stable, clear, untouchable. Let us build that now. Most people change their habits when their emotions change, but the man who builds internal wealth understands this law. Emotion is temporary. Ritual is permanent. You must create non-negotiables. Routines that align your nervous system with wealth even on days when you feel poor. Some of these rituals may include daily visualization of your wealth reality with detail and emotion. Reading aloud your definite chief aim until it becomes scripture. Walking, speaking, and dressing in ways that reflect your vision. These are not nice habits. They are the bricks of the inner empire. Because wealth is not attracted to randomness. It is attracted to rhythm. You do not become wealthy only by feeding yourself the right thoughts. You must also starve the wrong ones. Ask yourself, what content do I consume daily? Who do I listen to? What do I allow into my inner world without question? Every voice is a seed. Every post, every article, every casual opinion is programming. You must become militant in guarding your mind. If it doesn't align with wealth, it doesn't enter. This is not arrogance. It is clarity. And clarity builds power. Wealth is not just about thoughts. It's about emotions. When you operate from fear, your decisions shrink. When you operate from guilt, you self-sabotage. When you operate from resentment, you repel opportunity. Your emotional baseline must be tuned to calm under pressure, certainty and ambiguity, gratitude without neediness, and joy in the process, not just the outcome. This emotional resonance is what draws people, deals, and unexpected favor, because no one and nothing flows to a man who feels unsafe in himself. But when your emotional state says, I can hold more, I deserve more, I expect more, then more arrives. A poor man hopes, a wealthy man expects, and expectation is not arrogance. It is trained belief. You train it by following through on your word. You say you'll rise early, you do. You say you'll finish the task, you finish. Every time you follow through, your subconscious hears, I am the kind of man who finishes. This creates a foundation of self-trust. And self-trust is what allows you to make bigger moves, take bigger risks, and hold bigger responsibilities. You don't expect riches because they are guaranteed. You expect them because you are guaranteed. That is what wealth responds to. Even as your inner wealth grows, life will still test you. You will face delays, betrayals, losses. But the wealthy mind doesn't collapse, it reframes. You must train this skill. When something goes wrong, don't ask, why me? Ask, where is the seed of benefit in this? That question, used consistently, creates invincibility. Because every challenge becomes an asset. Every delay becomes preparation. Every setback becomes spiritual compound interest. This is what separates the rich in mindset from the rich in appearance. Only one of them survives the storm. Your identity must be anchored not just in thoughts but in practice. Choose rituals that reflect who you are becoming. Sit in luxury environments even before you can afford them. Read literature written for the affluent to adopt their language. Associate with people who normalize excellence. Speak your affirmations in the mirror as declarations, not requests. These are not tricks, they are tools of inner anchoring. You're not faking wealth, you are installing familiarity. Because what feels familiar becomes accessible, and what is accessible eventually becomes reality. Wealth is not just economic, it is spiritual. It reflects how you see yourself in relation to the universe. Are you a victim of scarcity or a channel of abundance? Do you beg life for favors or co-create with it? Do you see wealth as a burden or a sacred responsibility? The truly wealthy man sees money as a magnifier of mission. He earns not to escape, but to express. He builds not for ego, but for impact. He grows not to compete, but to contribute. This is the final infrastructure, and without it, Even if you get rich, you'll remain poor. You were never just chasing dollars. You were always meant to become someone with structure, with inner clarity, with a self-image so refined that money feels inevitable. The infrastructure is yours to build. No one can do it for you. And once it's in place, wealth will stop running, because it will have finally found a place to live. Now that you've walked through the fire of imagination, through the rewiring of thought, through the forging of discipline, let me ask you something simple. What are you building that is so powerful the universe must fund it? Because if you truly want wealth to arrive, to stay, to grow, it must have a reason. And that reason cannot be survival. It cannot be ego. It cannot be proving them wrong. The deepest wealth comes when the vision is so clear, so meaningful, so magnetic, that life itself begins to rearrange in your favor. This is where the game changes. This is where imagination becomes demand. Every man has an internal contract with life. Most never read theirs. But the moment you take full ownership of your desires, of your mission, of your standards, a shift occurs. You stop begging. You start declaring, I am not waiting for permission to become wealthy. I am not waiting for signs, signals, or validation. I am wealth in motion, and the world will adjust. This inner contract is not noise, it's not aggression. It's alignment. It tells the world this man is ready to receive what he's prepared to hold. This is not philosophy, this is law. The world doesn't respond to your desire, it responds to your certainty. The moment you begin living, speaking, deciding, and prioritizing like wealth is already your identity, the gap starts closing. And that's when the shift occurs, from wanting wealth to walking in it. Your energy becomes irresistible. Your standards become unshakable. Your presence becomes magnetic, and the world cannot ignore it. You've been taught to wait, to ask, to wish. But here's the truth. Money responds to leadership, and you must lead it. Every dollar you attract should have a destination. Every action you take should have alignment. Every day you live should answer the question, am I becoming the man my wealth is waiting for? If not, don't expect it to arrive. But the moment your life becomes that answer, everything changes. Because wealth is not chasing you. It's waiting for you to become someone it can trust, not in fantasy, not in laziness, but in full conviction. Build the mind. Build the standard. Build the rhythm. Build the reason. Because once your inner world is built for wealth, it no longer becomes a question of if, it becomes a certainty of when. So begin. Right now. Sit still. Picture the wealth that belongs to you, and become the one who walks in it before anyone else sees it. Because the man who carries wealth inside will never be denied it outside. If you've made it this far, you are no longer ordinary. You've crossed the threshold most never even approach, because you dared to go within. Now, it's time to surround yourself with energy that matches this new standard. This channel was built for minds like yours, those who are done waiting, done wishing, and ready to lead their own transformation. So, if something in you awakened here, subscribe now, activate notifications, and return often. Every video you'll find here is a tool. Every lesson, a mirror, every word, a seed of wealth planted in fertile ground. You are no longer preparing for riches. You are walking as if they're already yours. And that changes everything.